Any genuine victory or achievement involves suffering and sacrifices. 13th Sunday, 28 June 2020. Today's gospel passage, Matthew chapter 10, verses from 37 to 42, gives us lots of insights and reflections that are very much relevant to the modern life. In fact, many of the sayings of Jesus or invitations by Jesus seem to be really paradoxical, seem to be really frightening, demanding, and sometimes they look even humanly impossible to follow his words or teachings. For example, today we have a couple of instances. Verse 37, he says, "Anyone who loves his father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. Anyone who loves their son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me." Now, Jesus himself was obedient to his parents, as we find in Luke chapter 2, verse 51. He went down to Nazareth with them and was obedient to them. And his mother treasured all these things in her heart. If Jesus himself had obeyed his parents and loved his parents, now he's asking us not to love them more than we would love Jesus. Jesus, in fact, invites us to love even our enemies. Now, when Jesus says, "You should love me more," does he mean that he is selfish, that he wants us to love him more than anyone else? Also, in the Ten Commandments given by God to Moses, the fourth commandment clearly says, "Honor your father and mother." Also, in several books of the Old Testament, we find how we need to love and deal with our parents respectfully. Now, what is the meaning of Jesus' invitation that we should love him more than loving our parents or others? What's the meaning of loving him? That is to obey his commandments and to live by his values. We need to have clarity in our priority. When Jesus says that you should love me more, does not mean that we should hate our parents or others. If anything or anyone comes in between us and our following Jesus, we must be ready to lose it or them. We must be ready to deny them or ignore them in order to choose, in order to prefer to follow Jesus. And this will certainly cause us loss, pain, and suffering that is nothing but cross. In the verse 38, he says, "Take up your cross and follow me." Is Jesus interested in our sufferings and pain and losses? Is he pessimistic? Any real or genuine victory or achievement demands pain and suffering on our part. Anything that comes in a shortcut way does not last longer. That does not actually satisfy us. Jesus without cross is not possible, and cross without Jesus is not desirable either. Since Jesus is the fullness of love, the epitome of the perfect love and sacrifice, cross is necessarily involved there. Similarly, cross without Jesus is not desirable. Who will like to have suffering, cross, pain in their lives but for Jesus? It is Jesus who makes meaning. It is Jesus who gives a special meaning to cross. The real and genuine love of Jesus involves cross for him, which led to his real and lasting victory. Unfortunately, in today's world, we try to achieve lots of things in a shortcut way. We are not ready to pay the price for it. As simple as while waiting at the ticket counter or bank counter, we try to cut the line to reach the counter earlier rather than waiting for our turn. We cheat while paying the taxes to the government. We are insincere while keeping the accounts at various levels. We resort to malpractices during exams. We try to bypass the rules or requirements to get promotion in a shortcut manner. All these reflections, all these are reflections of this mentality that we like to gain more by investing less. But all that comes in a shortcut manner does not last longer and will not give us the real satisfaction, whether it is money or reputation, relationship or character, or even spirituality. If it comes in a shortcut way, it will not last longer. It will not give us a satisfaction. We need to pay the price for any genuine achievement. Jesus says, "He who finds his life will lose it, and he who loses his life for my sake will find it." Again, it's a paradoxical statement. It makes sense not only in the extreme cases of being a martyr for the sake of faith, but we choose this one in our daily practical life. Self centered life will lead to frustration and emptiness. We need to reach out to the others. There is more joy in giving than in receiving. As we have been created as social beings, we need to go out of ourselves. We are not self sufficient. We need to depend on others. We need to depend on nature for our survival. No one can live as an island. We survive only by giving and taking. Therefore, we need to go beyond ourselves, and unfortunately, the world has misplaced all its priorities and values today. It makes us think that only money, status, influence, power, authority, achievements, and so on, only these things matter and nothing else. But actually, the question is, do they all give us real satisfaction? And the answer is no. Life is a circle. We often tend to think that our success consists in having lots of money, properties, big social status, high level influence, academic degrees, positions, and so on. But in the final analysis, how much they all these really matter? It's a big question. Even a cursory look at life's various stages reveals that what counts as success changes over time. What seems to be successful at one stage is not the same as in another. Still worse, what seems to be successful at the earlier stages reappear again at the later stages. If so, what is the real success? For example, when a child is 1 year old, the success is the ability to walk without any support. When a child is 4 years old, the success is not to urinate in the dress. When the child is 8 years old, the success is to know the way back home without getting lost. When it is 12 years old, the success is to have friends in life. When he or she is 18 years old, the success is to be able to get the driving license. At 23, the success is to graduate from a university. At 25, the success is to find a job and start earning for life. At 30, the success is to get married and start a family life. At 35, the success is to make enough money for the future of the family. At 45, it is to maintain youthfulness at least in one's appearance. At 50, it's to be able to give good education to one's children. At 60, the success is to still be able to keep driving license, to retain the license. At 65, the success is to live without diseases. At 70, the success is not to be a burden to anyone anyway. At 75, the success is to be still in touch with the old friends. And at 81, the success is to know the way back home without getting lost. At 86, the success is not to urinate in the dress. At 90, the success is the ability to walk without any support. It is amazing what was success in early three stages. The same thing is repeated at the later stage at 81. It's amazingly interesting to see the first three qualifications for being successful are sadly repeated in the reverse. Does it not demand for a review of our understanding of what is the real success in life? So, life looks like a full circle, as the notion of success at the end takes us back to the point where we start. If so, life is not a triangle where some are kept at the top with higher qualifications, qualities, and requirements, not that they are born with more dignity and better values, while others are kept at various levels below in a pyramidical manner. Life is also not a square where some are at the same plane while others are at a lower plane with less dignity and so on. Life is a circle. It has only one centered point, which is God, which are the noble values, which are high principles to be followed in our life. Therefore, it's worthwhile to give a serious thought to the words of Jesus, the invitations by Jesus. We need to take up our cross and follow Him, and any genuine victory involves paying the price for it, and we need to lose our life in order to gain it. Let us think about it today.